Welcome back to Falco Figures, where today I've finally completed my 5-figure mint on card WWF Hasbro figure lineup, and I'm going to reveal which 5 Hasbros made it into my roster.
So that means it could be up to 5 guys up there? It's possible. We should have fucking shotguns.
So the guys that are on the table just now would usually have some kind of significance to the video that's going to follow, but not today. These are just some of my favourites. These are just some of the Hasbros that I really like. Some of my loose mint guys, I've taken these all off card, so they're all figures that are firmly in the kind of not for sale, permanent part of my collection category. And the figures that I'm going to go through today, the mint on card figures that I'm going to go through today, are obviously going to be exactly the same criteria. They're going to be held in the same regard. Not for sale, not for trade, unless something really amazing comes up. So, where to start, I think, is the figure out of these 5 that I've had for the longest. This is the figure that I've had in my collection now for probably about a year, I'd say, at least. And one that I've been chasing for a while. The price has sort of went up and down, and there hasn't really been a great time to buy. And I got this during a time where this price had spiked really high, but for a relatively good price for that time period. So I still think I got a good deal on this guy, but no intention to sell, no intention to move him on. So happy enough with what I paid for him. And that is this man right here, the 123 Kid. So anyone that knows the Hasbro figure line will know that this is probably number 2 of the carded Hasbros. Obviously there's unreleased prototypes, and there's mailaways, and then there's the fun school variants that all go for mega bucks. But if you're just talking about the standard release carded Hasbro figures, Dusty Rhodes is the most rare, the hardest to find, the most expensive, and then it's this guy, then it's X-Pac. Just to go through my criteria for this 5, I want good figures. I want figures that are hard to come by, are the rarer type of figures, but also guys that I like, figures that I like, figures that I want to have in my personal collection. But then I also have to have them in good condition. I don't want to get these guys graded. I don't see me getting them graded, but I want them in gradable condition. So this 123 Kid is nice. It's really flat. There's no creases or anything to the card. The card's perfect. No dents, dings, or bubbles, cracks, or lifts or anything like that in the bubble even. And probably one of the most important things, I think, for the 123 Kid, because you see some 123 Kids out there where the face is a completely different colour from the skin tone, but it's not the case in this one at all. There's no fade, no discoloration. It's perfect. It is a near perfect 123 Kid. And yeah, I'm so happy with it. There's no creases, there's obviously a couple of little things around the corners, tiny wee bit up here at the corner where it's maybe just caught something as it's been moving around or something, but other than that, it's near perfect. One of the best 123 Kids I've ever seen, so really happy with it, and really glad to have it in my 5-figure roster, because like I say, it is up there with the rarest of the Hasbros to have, so delighted to have him. He's going to go into the collection. So the next one I have, again, is a figure that I've had for a long time now. I say a long time, for months. And I won it as a raffle prize, actually. I won this figure as a raffle prize from the US-based group on Facebook, WWF, WWE, MOC Hasbro Collectors that John Salonis runs. And this is probably the best, in fact it is the best prize I've won in that group. I've won a few prizes in that group. But it's definitely the highest profile prize that I've won, and that is this guy. Another green card, just like the 123 Kid, and this is Bart Gunn, one of the Smoking Guns. Again, no creases to this card, no edge wear to speak of really, other than kind of minor things. The one difference between this and the 123 Kid is that there was a tiny bit, like very slight, bit of curving to the card, as in it didn't sit perfectly flat. The 123 Kid card does sit perfectly flat out of the protector. Bart's didn't. It just kind of lifted off the table a little bit when you put it out. But obviously being in the protector, you can't see that. You don't know that. And yeah, hopefully being in the protector straightens it out a wee bit as well. It was marginal. It was slight. It wasn't anything major. It wasn't anything that would put you off or detract from this figure at all. So that's why when I had it, I thought, I'm going to have to keep this. Because usually, if I'd picked up something like this, I mean, I've had green cards before that I just thought I need to trade them or I need to sell them just because they're worth so much that could potentially be other figures. But no, Bart was in such nice condition that I thought, I'm definitely going to keep him. So again, second longest time I've had one of these 5 is Bart Gunn. So that's where I was for a long time. I had 1, 2, 3 Kid and I had Bart, and I thought to fill up my 5 and keep these 2 in it, I need to think about where I'm going from here, because I didn't want it to be exclusively green cards. I didn't want it just to be 5 green cards, because that would drive me crazy, because there's 7 green cards, so you'd probably have to end up getting them all. So I thought, if you're cutting yourself off at 5, you need to be sensible about this. So having Kid is great because he's arguably the rarest of the green cards. And then having Bart Gunn, to me, said you have to find his tag team partner. You have to find Billy. And I found a few Billys. There's Billys out there. In fact, I have a Billy Gunn at the moment. I mint on card Billy Gunn that has some bubble damage that I'm looking to sell or trade just to try and develop my collection in other areas. But yeah, they were out there. You could find Billy Gunn, but it went on for so long, or what felt like so long, that I thought, I don't think I'm going to get a good Billy. I don't think I'm going to get a solid sort of 8.5, 9 out of 10 Billy to go with the Bart and the 1, 2, 3 Kid that are of the same standard. So I started to look elsewhere. I started to say, well, can I swap Bart to somebody else and can I go in a different direction for this group of 5? So I was looking again for some deals in that area. Was anyone interested in Bart? Could anyone give me somebody that I wanted? But nothing came to fruition. And then just kind of out of the blue, I was selling figures online, and somebody that I deal with a lot, a guy called Anthony Beattie, he got in touch and said, "You interested in a swap? I've got an absolutely perfect Billy Gunn." So I swapped and for some of the figures that I had, some of the lesser figures, multiple. I had a few of the lesser figures that I was trying to move on. And he had this really nice Billy Gunn. Again, card completely flat, bubbles perfect. 1 or 2 wee sort of scuffs around the edge of the card, but that's it. Nothing major at all. Certainly something that would grade really high, and really, really crisp looking, and just completes, I think, the green card chapter of my lineup perfectly. I think having 1, 2, 3 Kid and both smoking guns is just perfect, because I think if you're going to have 3 green cards, people, I suppose, it'd be open to your own preference, but if you have, like, for example, a Bart Gunn, an Adam Baum, and a Yokozuna, well, there's not really any sort of connection to it. It doesn't really tie up at all. But I like that, obviously, the smoking guns, they're both a complete tag team. 1, 2, 3 Kid is obviously, as I've said already, the most rare figure in the line, so it's good to have him. But there is obviously the DX connection as well, between Sean Waltman, later known as X-Pac, and Billy Gunn, later known as Badass Billy Gunn or Mr. Ass. They were both members of DX together. So they do kind of tie up. And for me, if I was picking 3 figures to complement each other from the green card series, this would probably be it. The only other thing I thought might kind of work with Ludwig Borga, Yokozuna, and Evil Crush, because they were all in the Foreign Fanatics Survivor Series team, which was, I think, 1995-ish, 94, 95. The one where they fought Lex Luger, the Steiners, and Undertaker as well. But yeah, so really happy with that. And I thought, that's enough for green cards just now. I don't want to get any more greens. If I'm only going to have 5 figures, I want to then look elsewhere in the Hasbro series. So I thought, well, who else would you want if you don't want the greens, but you want to stay high end, you want to stay sort of exclusive, the more rare types of figures? I'm not going to get a Dusty. I kind of conceded that early and thought, I'm not going to find a Dusty Rhodes out there. So then I started thinking, well, if I've got 2 spots to fill, how do I go about this? Do I go for 2 from the same series? Do I go for 2 that's like a classic rivalry, so they sort of match up with each other? Do I go for 2 that match each other in colour schemes or in aesthetics? and I really didn't know. I wasn't entirely sure. I knew a few figures that I liked and I would try and get my hands on, but they were all hard to come by. They weren't any that I thought was going to be easy to find. So I thought, I'm just going to wait and see what comes up and see how things progress, how things develop, and take it from there. So the next figure that I got hold of that I've been after for a long time is this guy. And this is a Series 1 Andre the Giant. Now, the story behind this was, there's not that many Andres out there. I mean, if you look for an Andre, there are people that have them, and most people that have them are reluctant to let go of them because they're really rare. So this was an Andre that I was watching on eBay, and it's funny, the guy wanted a lot for it. It was probably more than what I wanted to pay for it, more than what it's probably worth. And then out of the blue one day, it was on my watch list on eBay. You get one of these private offers where the seller sends you an offer, and he wasn't like offering a massive discount or anything. It was like a 5% discount or something from the listing price that he offered. But it got us in touch with each other, and I kind of spoke to him a bit and said, look, what you really like, what's your bottom line here? And then he sort of expressed a bit of concern over, he doesn't want to be mugged off, kind of thing. He doesn't want it just to be relisted and sold. And I thought, well, if you've got any doubt in that, just have a look at what I do. And they're like, what my kind of track record is. I'm building a collection here. So we kind of had a little bit of a conversation. Then we agreed a price that I thought was fair for Andre the Giant. This isn't a perfect Andre. It's not its same category. I mean, the 3 green cards are near perfect. They're near mint. They're, like I say, 8.5, 9s out of 10. I'd give those guys. But Andre has some minor issues. He's got tiny little fold here, a little bit of a crease over here, and there's some remnants of a price sticker up in this top corner. But that's really it. Other than that, he does sit flat. He lies flat on the table. There's no damage to the bubble, no cracks, splits, lifts, or anything like that, no dents. So it's not a bad Andre the Giant. And given that this is a Series 1 figure, which came out in 1990, and obviously the green cards came out 93, 94, so they've been around for potentially 4 years longer than these guys have been. So, and that's sitting in shelves, you know, banged up in storage units and stuff. So it's hard to get Series 1s that are in really, really good shape. And certainly Andre, which is a rare one, which is a tough one to get him in mint condition, in perfect condition, it's almost impossible. I mean, a lot of the Andres that I see these days have really badly yellowed bubbles, and they're still going for reasonable amounts. You know, people are still getting hundreds of pounds for them with the yellow bubble. So I'm really happy to have this one where there is no damage to the bubble. The bubble hasn't been discoloured at all, and the card is it's nice. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. It's probably not. It's right on the cusp of. I would give it a lot of consideration. If I was sending figures off to get graded, I would only want to get something graded that would grade an 80 grade or higher. And this is the type of figure that I would think that might come back 80. That might be graded 80, but it might also come back 75. I don't think it'd be 70. I think it's in too nice a shape to be a 70, but it might be 75. And when you have a 75 graded figure, it almost, in my mind at least, detracts from it. You know, if you've got an 80 grade, if this figure's graded 80, that makes it better. If it's graded 75, it makes it worse. So I don't think I'd take the gamble of getting Andre graded, because in this condition, in the shape that he's in just now, still a really desirable figure. I mean, still a figure that people want and people would pay big money for. But as I say, he's sort of locked into the collection for the time being. So 4 figures down and 1 spot left. This last spot had been open for a long time, and I'd been thinking about how do I fill it, and even went back to the Bart Gunn scenario where I thought, how do I fill this last spot? Do I potentially have to go back and swap somebody else out, like swap one of the guns out? And if you swap one of the guns out, do you have to swap both of the guns out? And then I thought, where would I go from there? Would I have to get one of my 5 figures would have to go each come from different series, or how do you play it? I've almost kind of backed myself into a corner by restricting myself to 5. But as I say in previous videos at least, the reason for 5 is that I just don't have the space to keep more than 5. Well, to keep them properly. I mean, I could store them up and put them in boxes and put them in the loft or whatever. But I want to have them on display. I want to have them on the shelf. And 5, I think, is just enough to make it interesting without it being overkill, without it being far too many wrestling figures up on your shelf, on your wall. So that's kind of my motive behind 5. So I was looking for my last place. Who am I going to film my last place? I thought, I've got the 3 greens. Andre's there. I want to keep Andre. I'm pretty adamant that Andre's going to be a long-term fixture in this lineup. So I want someone that complements Andre. I was looking for a Series 1 Hogan because obviously the WrestleMania main event. I thought having a Series 1 Hogan and a Series 1 Andre would be perfect for that, and it would just display really well. But Series 1 Hogan has just gone through the roof these days. It's really difficult to get a Series 1 Hogan. I mean, in the kind of shape I'm talking about. You know, they're out there on beat-up cards. They're out there on foreign cards as well. But people still asking crazy money for them. But to get a nice one, or, you know, up there, that sort of 7, 8, 9 out of 10 rating, it's really, really difficult to find them, first of all, but then to convince somebody to give you a good deal on one is even tougher. So I was thinking, I don't know where I'm going to go with this. I don't know how this is going to pan out. But then another raffle win, a raffle win from the same group that I got Bart from. It was a multi-raffle winner raffle, a multi-winner raffle even, where there was choices, and there was 3 winners in the raffle, and I was the 3rd. So I was the last person to get a prize. So I was the last one to pick. And fortunately, the guy that I had my eye on to go into this lineup was left when it came round to me, because I was looking for a Series 1 guy. I thought, if I'm not going to get Hulk Hogan, I'll look for another Series 1 guy. And at that point I was thinking probably condition is the best, is the main criteria now, because none of the other Series 1s other than Hogan really kind of match up with Andre perfectly, and no others of the Series 1 lineup are really that sort of rare and valuable. They're all sort of much of a muchness really, outside Hogan and Andre. So when I won this next guy in the raffle on a Series 1 card, I thought, you know what? For the time being at least, he is going to complete my 5-figure lineup. And this is a Series 1 Big Boss Man. Fat Big Boss Man, chubby Big Boss Man, as he's affectionately known. When I won him, I thought, yeah, you know, he's Series 1. He might do it. He might be the last guy I need to make it to 5. I've been looking for the Series 1. But I wasn't sure. I thought, I'll wait and see till he arrives. But when he came, this card is near perfect. For a Series 1, it is near mint. Again, it has a tiny bit of edge wear at the top, but that's it. Other than that, it lays flat, it's perfect, it pops, it's bright, bubbles completely intact, no issues with the bubble at all. The only thing I think about this figure that might detract from its aesthetic quality is the plastic hook here is, I don't know why that happens, slightly faded. I don't know if it's the glue underneath it, the scullers or something, because it's happened on a few figures. And I had a wee theory that this might be why some of the cards that look really nice cards, really nice bubbles, come back from the graders with really disappointing grades, because this might be bringing the grade down. I'm not sure. So this Big Boss Man, that rounds off my 5 for the time being, because it goes with Andre being a Series 1. So I've got 3 from the green card series, Series 11, the green card series, and I've got 2 from Series 1. And I think, at least for the time being, that kind of works. It fits just now. They kind of go with each other. But as I have kind of talked about before on the channel, I expect this 5-figure lineup to evolve and develop as it goes on. I think guys will come into it, guys will come out of it, obviously, because I'm going to restrict it to 5. I want to be tight on that. I don't want to just expand it, oh, I'll just have 7, because then I'll just have 7, I'll just have 10, or, you know, I'll have 5, but I'll have a couple of tag teams outside that. So it has to be 5. I want to be hard and fast on that. So the way it looks just now, if somebody big comes up, obviously I wanted Hogan, so if Hogan comes up, Bossman's out, Hogan's in, Bossman is on eBay, he's in Facebook getting swapped, sold, whatever. But if somebody other than Hogan big comes up, then I'll have to have a think, and have to have a think about reshuffling. So, I don't know, for example, if a red Series 8 red card Bret Hart was to come up, well, I would want that. I'd want that as part of my 5. But take out Bossman, put Bret in. Does it go with Andre? Not really. Does it match up with the green cards? Not really. So I'd then have to have a rejig, a reshuffle. I'd think, right, okay, if I'm not going to have, if I can't have Bret in there because he doesn't match with who I've got, who needs to leave and who do we have to find? Do we then have to find a Series 8 Undertaker on card to try and go with Bret? So it'll evolve and it'll develop and it'll progress, I'm sure. But I want to keep it to 5. I want to stick to 5 as long as I possibly can before the figure X just gets far too much for me and I end up just buying them all. But for the time being, this is my lineup. 1, 2, 3 Kid, both of the Smoking Guns, Andre the Giant, and Series 1 OG Chubby Big Boss Man. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, do all the usual stuff. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Stay safe, and we'll speak soon.